I don't like doing my own home repairs, and when I made some videos that honestly show how much I don't like it, they seem to help a lot of other guys like me. So I thought it would be good to make this new set of videos. Guys like me have a million questions for the progressive activists that we see on the news, but nobody on TV ever asks those questions. On CNN, the host probably agrees with the activists, so his questions are weak. And on Fox News, the host just tries to make them look bad. Either way, nobody's asking the questions that might actually help us get a feel for where they're coming from, so we might actually understand them a little better. It's no surprise that people who disagree over politics are so angry at each other nowadays. So right before Christmas, me and my brother, who is himself progressive, we drove around the West and did our own interviews. We drove to 22 cities and interviewed dozens of people who support progressive causes to ask those questions that are never asked. We're not trying to change their mind or make them look bad. We just want to understand where they're coming from. These folks were brave, considering what can happen nowadays if you say one wrong thing on YouTube. And we talked about a lot of really sensitive subjects. So just leave right now if these conversations might offend you. If you stay though, I think you'll hear some things you've never heard before and have a better understanding of your fellow Americans. I did. Next, we drove to Pueblo, Colorado to talk with immigration rights activist Sally Sharp. Recently, she's been working to build support for DACA recipients, those who registered for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals policy put in place by President Obama.
President Trump, on September 5th, declared DACA dead. And that's a big problem because that leaves 800,000 people without their legal status here.
And refresh me if you can, who are these primarily? These are folks that have been brought into the country by their parents when they were children?
They were brought in this country by their parents when they were children. So some of them as young as, babies, and they know no other country besides here. So for example, I know two people and who were brought here when they were children by their parents, and their dad is working in construction and their mom has a job. I think she's a house cleaner, I think. And so they won't have a job, they won't have a driver's license, and then once they finish their studies, they have zero opportunities here to work at all. And they're nursing students, so we need nurses. I know another gentleman who finished last year with a degree in chemistry and biology. He's a pre-med student. He's waiting to go to medical school, doesn't know if he should even apply because his DACA status will run out too.
Okay, good. Those are things that sound like they're going to cause a lot of people human suffering.
Right.
When we talk about human suffering, I can't help but think about folks that are, desperate for jobs who are not here illegally and who don't need more competition from other places. So you don't feel like the illegal immigration has hurt any of the people who are here already?
I honestly don't feel like they, meaning undocumented folks, are taking away jobs from people in the United States.
Okay.
I think that the people in the United States can get jobs when they need to get jobs.
So you're of the opinion that Americans can get jobs if they need jobs?
There's enough jobs for everyone.
Okay.
I think that the immigration system is broken in that there needs to be a way for folks to come here and to share in what we have, to share with them what we have, so that we all benefit together.
Okay.
So when you think about immigration, I could be wrong about this, but it seems like it's the last group that comes in that gets looked down upon. So in history, we've had various waves of immigrants, and they've come here and they've acclimated and they make their way, and this is no different.
Are you then for completely unfettered immigration?
In the ideal world, there wouldn't be a need to move anywhere, right? So in the ideal world, there would be just governments everywhere, and people would have what they need everywhere. So ideally, you kind of free-flowing wherever you want to go, you go live. That's not the ideal world. So I think part of the big issue is that, you know, when you go to apply for a green card, if you're from Mexican origins and you're here, they're taking people from 1996. That's a long time to wait.
What's the kind of thing that you're trying to
That we
get
would
to
get
happen?
for right now, it's for a Clean Dream Act. And that means a DREAM Act that leads to a path to citizenship for the DACA students that takes in account their DACA status so that they don't have to like reapply and submit all this paperwork again. And that leads to a green card, and that will lead to citizenship for them so that they have a place here in the country because they've had a place for 5 years. And it's not appropriate to take that away from them, no matter what you think about how they got it. They got it. We had a president who signed a paper and they got it, so it shouldn't just be snapped away from them.
In the way you just said that, it sounds like maybe President Obama, in doing this, wasn't really the best way to go about doing this.
The best way to go about doing this would have been a law in 2001 that was, you know, enacted by Congress.
But
yeah.
I mean, it was not passed because there are people who don't believe that that type of behavior should be rewarded.
It went back and forth amongst the parties in Congress for many years, and it was not passed. So that's ideal. That's the best thing.
Okay, but what do you think about how President Obama handled it then?
I think it was morally reprehensible.
Now, are you talking about when
what Trump did was
Trump
just
did? I was asking you about what Obama did originally 5 years ago.
Oh, what Obama did. I am not prepared to comment on that because I have not done enough homework on that, on the ins and outs of that, and I was not really aware of what was going on at the time.
Okay,
so I'm not prepared to comment on that.
Do you see how, when you say it was morally reprehensible for Trump to have taken away DACA, do you see that, from my point of view, to have granted DACA in the first place on such shaky ground as President Obama did, that's equally morally reprehensible?
It's not equally morally. I don't think it's
Why not?
equally morally reprehensible. Oh,
It gave people something there was no guarantee they would be able to keep.
Right, but it gave people something. And there was a need for something. And it was a good thing.
Okay.
Even though it wasn't a complete thing, it was a good thing.
Okay, when you say it was a good thing, is there any way to describe this as good that doesn't involve emotion and being sorry for people and saying, well, how could you not do this?
I don't think it's being sorry for people. It's just giving them a chance.
Right.
It's not that...
Well, it's giving them a chance, as opposed to someone from Bulgaria or from England or from Sweden or from South America. It's giving them a chance. You know, immigration has always tried to balance the number of...
Right.
Because at some point, and even, you don't hear it much, but even people who are in the immigration administrations will admit that at some point you have to worry about assimilation. Is there a point at which we simply balkanize the United States? That's always been, historically, that's what we've always been concerned about. That's why at some points, you know, we've let in tons of Irish and Italians and Polish and whatnot, and other times we just locked it down. Because at some point, then what you end up with is something like, you know, the Balkan states, where people are fiercely tribal, where they don't even speak the same language, and where the fabric of society gets worse, not better, because people don't have a common kind of frame of reference. I mean, you can find articles that are 90 years old saying we're letting in too many Irish. The Irish are just, they're changing Brooklyn. How are we going to do this, right?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the history of that. I just know that.
But you said it let them in, did something good for them. But by doing something good for them, you that's not in a vacuum. By making them legal and giving them a legal status, giving them the ability to get jobs, for example. I guess you've already said that you don't think that has taken any jobs away from American citizens.
Not that I know of, no.
Not in the African American community,
Um,
not among poor, lower middle class whites. It's my opinion that it has done those guys a lot of harm. So, but you can argue, and we don't want to do that. If you're to say this, if you're to say that DACA happened in a vacuum, then I would say, well, I don't think it did.
No, it didn't.
It wasn't like a
happen.
net positive for the entire world, because doing something positive for somebody, often has unintended consequences.
Right. I don't have any.
Okay.
Like I haven't thought about that because
well, you said
it's important to make just decisions, to have a fair and just process of allowing people to be here.
Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Right.
And you're saying it was a net good. In your opinion, it was a good thing to do. And when I asked you to, did it happen in a vacuum? You're saying, well, essentially your answer was yes, it did happen in a vacuum. I don't think it hurt anybody else. So, is there anything in your opinion, besides just the need to do something good for people, that would justify granting people that DACA status in the beginning? Is there any legal precedent? Is it something that would have good consequences? Has it been thought through? Has any other country done this and it's been really good? I mean, what are the rational reasons other than you just want to do something good for a group of people?
I feel like, Carrie, you're painting me a little bit in a corner, but I can say that it's economically good for the country. It brings workers that fulfill jobs that need to be fulfilled. There are teachers who are on DACA. There are people in the healthcare profession that are DACA recipients. In our school system, it's good to give people hope so that they do their best in school, so that they know that they have a future here in the United States. I know that it is an economic driver, so there's more than just an emotional or right and wrong thing going on here. It's important not to have an underclass. That's important. It's important that people are here, that they are able to trust the police, and that when things happen that they are reported and they are not afraid to go to court.
No, I agree with you. There's a tremendous amount of dysfunction that is caused by people being here illegally. Obviously, the people who've been suffered the worst have been the illegal immigrants who are here. And both sides of this seem to have not worried one bit about what would happen to them as they let this happen over the last 40 years. So.
Well, and many of them are here, and many people are here and have very middle-class lifestyles.
Oh, sure,
they take their kids to soccer, they take their kids to dance practice. It would be really nice if they had legal status here.
What would be the good solution?
The DREAM Act, so a Clean Dream Act, and then having some serious discussions, bipartisan discussions, about how to fix the system. We have all these people here. I don't particularly feel like they need to go anywhere. I am more than happy and feel like they add a richness to our country. So I would embrace that and want them to stay. So how do we make that possible? And I'm not an immigration lawyer and I'm not a politician. So let's have some honest discussion about how you make that happen.
Good. Honest discussion then. A lot of folks who are coming here do come from countries where the culture is different than it is here. And it's a culture that they, frankly, they're fleeing. And when they flee with it, they do come here and bring some of it with them. So much as we may, embrace people who, have different foods and different music and things like that, I mean, is it all positive?
Okay, I come from LA, and originally from LA, and I love it that I can go, that people speak, I don't know, 170 languages in LA, that I can go have Ethiopian food, I can go have Chilean food, I can go celebrate with, the Germans. I love that. I think that's amazing. And
Right, but there are some things that people don't like about
what is
cultures
that?
when they come in here.
So what is that?
Not all cultures are the same. And I know it's not politically correct to say it, but there's some cultures where it's like, maybe good for them, maybe not something we want to do here.
I don't see it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't see it that way. And I think that, and I've lived a little bit of time outside the States, so it's like different cultures are different, and we may not, it could be challenging, but I think it brings a depth that other places might not have. And I think that's really cool. I think that's really neat. Yeah. And the differences that different folks bring, and this country is so amazing. It's got so many different people. It's a wonderful place, and we should just honor that.
Okay. Trump, for people who are not of the same opinion that you are about immigration, Trump for us has been saying things that we've never heard someone say before. He says, what about our children? What about our dreamers? How would you address people who have that response?
I think they don't realize it's already a given. It's already a given.
For everyone in this country? Who's not
for those with citizenship, the rights and privileges of having citizenship, it's a given.
Well, it's a given that they can stay in the country, but the world doesn't owe us a living. It's not easy. It's tough out there on the streets for some people.
Well, like I said before, I don't think that they're taking anybody's jobs. That I just don't.
Okay, fair enough. I can respect that. So ends this interview in our Drive to Understand series. I learned from these interviews that I didn't have to go very far to find people who know folks and situations that I don't know anything about. It'd be dumb of me to ignore their opinions when I'm so unfamiliar with things that are really near and dear to their hearts. By the same token, though, it's also easy to find people who are unaware of people and situations that I am familiar with. I appreciate that when Sally Sharp and I realized during her interview that we simply disagree as to what is in fact happening with regard to illegal immigration in the job market, there was no name-calling or hyperventilating over whose intentions were more pure. I think that's a lesson that folks who do interviews for a living could learn from. I hope you may want to support this series by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Thanks.